Welcome everybody back to the Friar Talk podcasting YouTube channel. So we missed the last couple days. I think there was a little bit of frustration. Yesterday, none of us watched the game. I didn't watch the game. I don't think you guys did either. And so we just decided to take a couple days off. And we didn't really want to talk about the Padres then. So we took a couple days off. We're going to be back now. We're going to be doing 3 segments. We'll be going live before the Cardinals series. So we'll be back on our normal schedule. But it is a little bit tough now that we've seen the way the Padres have played recently. As you can see, the title of this video is the playoff hopes are over. I think that we've got to the point where, yes, what are they, a game back right now, I want to say? But that doesn't really tell the full story because they're a game back from the Reds. The Cardinals, the Phillies are both in the mix as well. And they are playing, right now they're playing in their last like 30 games almost. Or I think I forget how many games. I want to say like around 30. They're the worst team in the NL. So in whatever recent range they've been one, like the worst team in the NL. They've won like under 30% of their games in that stretch as well. It's been really, really brutal though. So Chase, I'll let you start out with, just where this team's at. And what do you think about the playoff hopes? Because I think they're pretty much diminished. Not even to talk about the play either, but both Paddock and Snell are now on IL as well. So it is a pretty terrible spot to be in right now for the Padres.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's no easy way to put it. We've lost 4 in a row. The Giants just kind of punched their ticket into the playoffs. You got another 2-3 games against the Giants. And then you play, I think, the Braves. But then you also play the Giants and the Dodgers all over again. And then you play the Giants again. So you're just like, well, where do you go from here? You lost Snell, arguably the best pitcher in baseball right now. Others outside maybe than Buehler, because we saw what Buehler did to us. Don't want to do that. We're half a game back, but we have the toughest schedule. We lost 2 of our best pitchers, and Cincinnati plays the Pirates. And I think since July, I think mid-July, there was a graphic that came out that showed the Padres and their rankings in like average runs per game. It was ERA, it was batting average, I think it was OPS, and there was one other one. And they were either 29th or dead last in every single one of them. So this is where we're at right now. The Padres have reverted back to the days of 2017 and 2018, but have all the talent on the roster. So, we can point fingers to a couple of people. We're not going to do that this episode. We're going to save that energy for another episode. But yeah, at this point, can't say the Padres are making playoffs. You got, like I said, 2 of your best pitchers down. The offense looks like utter crap. I've seen better offense from the Pirates of lately, of all teams, and the Diamondbacks. So I don't think the Padres are making playoffs.
When we did the live stream with Jim Russell, I said that I wanted to do a reverse jinx and the Padres would go 2-8. And I said 2-8, and I did not mean that by any means. Now they legit might go 2-8. Like, it's a legit possibility they get swept by the Giants. Maybe they win 3 or 4. But ideally, that was not what you wanted coming into this 10-game stretch. You got swept by the Dodgers, in which you had a chance in that second game. And the only 2 guys that did anything really were Fernando and Manny. No one else did anything. Then you almost got perfectoed by Max Scherzer. And really just that whole Dodger series was just a downward. That was just, to me, a period on the season, an exclamation point on the sentence the Padres season is over. We were visibly frustrated, as you can see. We didn't watch. I watched the first inning of the game yesterday when Yu Darvish gave up 5 in the first. I turned it off very soon after. I wanted to stop watching when Max Scherzer was throwing the perfecto, and I pretty much did stop watching. I still had it on the TV, but I pretty much checked out of that one, watched some football. But there are a lot of there's a lot of pointing out to do. There's a lot of fixing to do. There's a lot of guys that I feel are going to be fighting for their spots come starting right now fighting for their spots next season. Victor Caratini, I tweeted it out yesterday. He has no spot on this team if Yu Darvish is going to have a 4 ERA, a +4 ERA. No spot on this team. Absolutely not. No power. Not a very good catcher. The coolest thing about him is he knows supposedly 11 of Darvish's pitches, which very clearly are not working right now. Blake Snell ends. I don't know if he's on the IL. I don't remember seeing him be put on the IL, but I would assume he will be. I know Chris Paddock is on the IL with some arm inflammation, something like that. That's a huge blow. Yeah, I know. That one's scary. Tommy Pham almost absolutely will not be back. Eric Hosmer probably as well, unless Fernando, Manny, and Jake really love him that much, which looking at the way Jake looks at him after an error, you would absolutely assume they do not like him. Maybe Manny does. But just there's a couple guys on this team right now that absolutely have no place in our future, and that's going to start with the guys I just mentioned. You could also throw Drew Pomeranz in there with just his big contract. How often he gets hurt. Emilio Pagan also. Will Myers you can throw in there. But, there's just a lot of fixing this team needs to do.
Yeah, there's also something I wanted to bring up. So the Padres, and we've talked about this in the past, because people have said the farm system is really depleted. Now, I think all three of us would definitely argue that is not the case. There is a ton of talent throughout the system. Some of it is ready to be called up very, very soon. Some of the guys are like 16 years old. So there's a ton of talent, a lot of young talent. Yes, they kind of traded a lot of like the middle of their farm, but this year there's already been guys that have overperformed and are starting to replace that. But the Padres traded 33 players, and here's the list of guys that they got. And I'll say their WAR is with them. Joe Musgrove, 3.4. Absolutely monster addition, right? Is as best as it could possibly be. Blake Snell looked really rough early on, but overall looking a lot better, I think, now. He has a 1.4 WAR. Darvish, 1 WAR, and I want to say that the Padres need to pay him $60 million total the time he's here. That's not looking very good. Austin Nola, I like Nola, but they gave up a lot to get him, if you remember. Austin Adams, Adam Frazier, Mike Clevenger, Daniel Hudson, Marisnik, and Caratini are the other guys I'm seeing on this list. Oh, and I think Taylor Williams. Is it Taylor Williams they added? Okay, so yes. So that's the other person they added. You're trading 33 players, and I think you could count one guy that is truly exceeded expectations, or really even lived up to expectations. I don't think you could say anybody else has. I think that's one guy in that whole group. So these are all the trade deadline acquisitions too. Then on the flip side, for whatever reason, the Padres don't go and make that move for Max Scherzer. Many people feel like that they could have been able to, because if you looked at the market, some of the other trades, Jose Barrios, I thought it was a heavy overpay, and I'm pretty sure Barrios has struggled in his time after the trade. You could bring up Joey Gallo in that kind of one, definitely struggled. The Max Scherzer pickup might go down as one of the best trade deadline pickups ever. So you got to be kicking yourself that you didn't get that deal to go through, because clearly they weren't able to part. They weren't willing to part with someone, and maybe that'll come out down the road. I don't know if it will, but you missed out on that deal, and that's one where you're at the cusp of getting, clearly to some extent, because Ken Rosenthal isn't just going to tweet out something random. It's not like the Padres weren't deep in discussions. They're at the very least very deep in discussions. I also don't like Ken Rosenthal still, so I won't say anything positive about him messing that up. But 33 players for Joe Musgrove, that's the only guy that's having a great season. That just can't happen. You're not going to win that way. I was looking at the team stats for the Padres. Remember, about 2 months into the year, the Padres had the best ERA in the league. Maybe even 3 months into the year, they have fallen down to the 9th best ERA in the league, and that's even with the starters pitching good recently too. The last 2 weeks, the starters have done pretty well. The runs, they're 15th in total runs. And I do not think that is a fair way to estimate their offense and putting them at 15, because everybody that's watching the game knows that those runs are not coming in at like a per game level. You'll go and see them go for 10 runs in an inning or 8 runs in an inning and then not score for, it feels like, a week after that. So a lot of these times it's, the Padres, the games went, they scored 1, they scored 2, they scored 1, and then they scored 10 runs. And then it averages out and that's a pretty solid offense. It's pretty average. Most of the time their offense has been atrocious. So it's been rough. I mean, I know that we were not expecting just incredible fall off. So that's where I'm at with them. And anything else on the playoff hopes are over, because it's obviously not a positive conversation, but I just think that those are the big things to bring up. Huge swings and misses at the trade deadline. And then on top of it, you just completely fallen off this season.
So, yeah. All our trade deadlines this season, negative WAR. Whereas Nick has practically touched the field one time in the last month. And he played, one play? One play for a guy that you gave a top 10 prospect for. So there's that. And then looking at the rest of this series. Today, this isn't updated, but it has Paddock and that's Thursday. So today we Jake Arrieta, the man with the 7 ERA, going up against Desclafani. We all know how this one's going to end. Tomorrow is going to be Musgrove and a to be decided. And then Thursday we face Kevin Gossman. So safe to say we're losing 2 out of 3 today, or this week. And then we play St. Louis on the road. And so you can probably maybe take 1. And if they really go 0 for 7 here into St. Louis, you might as well chalk it up to a sweep, because the Padres hitting has just been atrocious. The pitching has been bad. We just lost another pitcher. And they didn't add a pitcher, starting pitcher to the roster. They added another reliever. So can only assume they're going bullpen days now. So hooray us. And then after the Cardinals, we go back into the Giants, who viably are probably the best team in baseball, if not the Dodgers. They're kind of fighting for first place right now, while we're fighting to stay alive with the Reds, who have been ice cold as of late too, but have a way easier schedule. So then going into the other wild card hopes, we have the Cardinals, who are right there with us, half a game back. They've won 3 in a row. The Phillies 2.5 back. They've lost 1, but let's look at the Phillies' rest of the season schedule, shall we? And they have Chicago right now, who is the only other team, or one of the only other teams to get eliminated from playoff contention. So probably going to do good there, and they're home. Then they play the Mets. Then they play the Orioles. And then they play the Pirates. The only other team that may give them a run for their money is the Braves. And that might just, hey, you know what? Braves are playing for a wild card spot now instead of first. And they're still going to be right there, probably above the Padres at that point. And then they finish off with the Marlins. So they play 1, 2, 3 last place caliber teams and the Mets, which can flip either way. It doesn't look good for us. We have a very, 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 very uphill climb, and I don't know where it's going to go.
The Giants right now are 44 games above 500. They're 94 and 50. We are 5 games above 500. And to me, all that tells me is that, you look at the Giants, they got Kevin Gausman, basically developed Kevin Gausman into what he is right now because of how good he's doing. They did that. Desclafani was okay, and then he comes to the Giants, he looks fantastic. Logan Webb looks solid for them right now. Lamonte Wade looks solid for them right now. Like, up and down their lineup, it's not a bunch of stars like this team is supposed to be. It's a bunch of guys coming together and doing their job, being selfless. That's exactly what a baseball team is supposed to do. That is not what this team does whatsoever. You see guys going up there, and after the 2 previous batters before, seeing 7 or 8 balls out of 10, swinging at the first pitch and grounding out. That is, to me, that is beyond selfish baseball, especially if you're a hitter like, I don't know, Tommy Pham, Adam Frazier. If you're not Fernando or Manny or Jake, you're not swinging at the first pitch after doing that. You just can't. And that's, I don't know, this seems super frustrating. If you would have told me that Jake Arrieta and Yu Darvish are both guys that I'm like, oh shit, they're on the mound. And even right now, I'm kind of more optimistic about Jake Arrieta, surprisingly, which is weird to say. Post sticky stuff ban, Darvish has like an 8 ERA. When you need sticky substances to, throw all that stuff, it's very concerning considering we gave up a lot for this guy. And I think that's my issue with AJ Preller is that he goes based off instinct rather than based off career resume. Before last year, I did not personally think Yu Darvish was that great of a pitcher. He was good, and he has a lot of strikeouts, but he went based off a 60-game season, just pounced on that. The one move I did like was Mike Clevenger, and he's hurt. But I think he's going to be our ace again next year, but he's hurt right now, so that's unfortunate. I don't even know what to really think. I think there's a lot on the line these next coming games for the Padres, for the players, for the coaches. Jace Tingler especially is on an extreme hot seat right now. The only chance of optimism you can give me is that they're still alive. I don't know. I don't know if they're on life support. They're definitely on life support, but that's the only chance thing you could tell me to stay optimistic is that they're still alive and only half a game back. But feels like 20 games back right now.
Yeah, one thing I do want to bring up is I also think we were all pretty hyped about the Musgrove deal. I know that for me, I was really excited about the Snell deal. I was excited about Darvish. I wasn't nearly as worried as I am now because I knew Darvish made a lot of money. But it was like, oh, at the end of the day, he'll always put up solid numbers. There's reason to be very, very concerned about Yu Darvish. The contract stuff, the Padres, a part of the reason that Scherzer deal did not go through is because the Padres do not have the money to pay some of these guys, and they have to offload salary. They have so many guys making, okay, let's see. They have Will Myers, Eric Hosmer, Yu Darvish are the clear guys doing it, making over $20 million that are tied. Well, not Will anymore, but Hosmer and Darvish could be two guys that are eating up $45+ million of money that could be used to add 2 other stars. That's hurting them so bad where they're going to have to rely heavily on some of these guys from the farm to come up and play early on. They're not going to have an option. Because I remember we used to talk about this, you can eventually move on from some of these guys and then you can go get that left fielder. You go pay for that left fielder. No, that's probably going to have to be Robert Hassel because you're going to have to pay for pitching. You're going to have to go pay for other spots because you just don't have it. They're so desperate for a starter right now. And that's going to come into the offseason as well. So there are a ton of questions. Now we're going to definitely slowly go throughout all of these as the offseason gets going. But I think that'll do it for today's episode just on the playoff hopes in general. I think they're slim to none right now. So that's where I'm at. I think that's where you guys are feeling the same way. I'm assuming that's where most of the fan base is as well, from what I've seen in the comments, from what I've seen on Twitter, in the live streams, everything like that. But yeah, we're definitely in there too. There was life, and then, oh, look, the guys are coming back. Paddock's back. Darvish is back. Can they just be all right? And then Darvish has not been that. Paddock's back on the IL list. Snell's going on the IL list most likely. They're too slim in the pitching department, and they're, like you said, Chase, they're last or second to last in almost every hitting category for a while now. So it's a tough spot. There's going to be massive changes, I think, that will be made this offseason. I think that we can begin to expect that. But that's going to do it for today. So thank you all for listening, and we'll talk Padres baseball tomorrow.